In a city where everyone seemed to be rushing somewhere, there lived a woman named Elena. She worked at a small café near the park. Nothing fancy. Just coffee, pastries, and the quiet hum of people passing through. The café had wooden tables worn smooth by years of use. The walls were painted a soft cream color, and in the corner by the window sat a single potted plant that Elena watered every morning. But there was something different about her. No matter how crowded the café got, no matter how rude a customer was, or how heavy the day felt, Elena never seemed to break. She didn't force a smile, she just had one. Not the kind that's painted on, the kind that lives somewhere deeper. People noticed. Regulars would come in just to talk to her. Strangers would leave feeling lighter somehow, though they couldn't quite explain why. One rainy afternoon in late November, a young man named David came in. He looked exhausted. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. His jacket was soaked, his hair dripping, but he didn't seem to care. He ordered coffee and sat by the window, staring at nothing. Rain streaked down the glass like tears. Elena brought his cup over and set it down gently. The ceramic made a soft sound against the wooden table. "Long day?" she asked softly. David laughed, but it was hollow, empty. "Long year," he said, his voice flat. "Maybe long life." Most people would have walked away, but Elena didn't. She pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. "I used to feel like that," she said quietly. David looked up, surprised. His eyes were red-rimmed, like he hadn't slept in days. You always look like nothing bothers you, like you've got it all figured out." Elena smiled, but there was sadness in it. "That's not true. A lot bothers me. The world is heavy sometimes. People can be cruel. Life doesn't always make sense." End quote. She paused, looking out at the rain. "I just don't let it take my light anymore." David frowned, gripping his coffee cup tighter. How? How do you do that when everything feels like it's falling apart? When you wake up and don't even want to face the day?" Elena looked at him for a long moment. She could see herself in him, the version of herself from years ago. "Let me tell you something," she said softly. "A story I don't tell many people." David leaned back slightly, still guarded, but listening. "A few years ago," Elena began, "I lost someone I loved. My younger sister, Maria. She was my best friend. The only person who really got me." Her voice was steady, but David could hear the weight in it. "We were only 2 years apart. Growing up, we shared everything. Clothes, secrets, dreams. When I moved to this city, she came with me. We got an apartment together. Small, but it was ours." Elena's fingers traced the edge of her cup, a habit she'd developed when talking about difficult things. "She was the one I'd call when life felt too big, the one who made me laugh when I wanted to cry. She worked at a bookstore down the street. She loved old poetry and rainy days and terrible romantic comedies." David could see Elena's eyes getting distant, like she was looking at something far away. "We had this tradition," Elena continued. "Every Sunday morning we'd make pancakes and coffee and sit by the window, just talking about everything and nothing. Those mornings were sacred to me." She took a breath. One Sunday she didn't wake up. The words hung in the air. I knocked on her door. No answer. I thought she was sleeping in. But when I opened it, Elena's voice wavered for the first time. She was just gone. An undiagnosed heart condition. The doctors said she didn't feel any pain, that she went peacefully in her sleep. David's throat tightened. "I'm so sorry." Elena nodded slowly. "For a long time, I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone had hollowed me out. The apartment felt too big and too empty. Her bookstore had a memorial. People left flowers. But none of it brought her back." She looked down at her hands. "I stopped going out. I stopped talking to friends. I called in sick to work for 2 weeks straight. I just existed. I'd sit in her room and cry until I couldn't anymore. Then I'd get up, go to my room, and do it all over again." "What changed?" David asked quietly, his own pain reflected in his voice. Elena looked at him with gentle eyes. "One morning, I don't even remember which one I was sitting in her room. I was going through her things, not to throw them away, just to feel close to her, I guess. She paused. I found an old journal she'd kept. She never told me about it. I almost didn't open it. It felt like invading her privacy. Elena's voice grew softer, but something made me. And on one of the last pages, she'd written something. It said, "If I'm gone someday, don't let the light go out. Keep it burning for both of us. Love doesn't end when someone leaves. It just changes shape." David felt something crack inside his chest. "I stared at those words for a long time," Elena said. "I didn't know what they meant at first, but then I realized she wasn't talking about her light. She was talking about mine." She leaned forward slightly, her presence grounding. "I couldn't bring her back. I couldn't undo what happened. I couldn't rewind time or make a different choice or save her." Her voice was steady now, clear. "But I could choose what I did with the pain. I could let it consume me, or I could let it teach me something." "How?" David whispered, his voice breaking. "How do you do that?" "Because I've tried. I've tried to move on, to be okay, to just function, but I can't. I wake up and it's all still there." Elena's expression was full of compassion. "You don't move on," she said gently. "That's the mistake people make. They think healing means forgetting. It doesn't." She held his gaze. "Healing means learning to carry it differently." David blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "I started small," Elena said. "The morning after I found her journal, I woke up and I forced myself to do one thing. Just one. I made coffee. That's it." She smiled slightly. "It sounds stupid, right? But it was something. The next day, I made coffee and opened the window. The day after that, I took a shower. Little things, things that felt impossible but weren't." David was listening now, really listening. "And then," Elena continued, "I started a practice. Every morning, before I did anything else, I'd find one thing to be grateful for." "Like what?" David asked. "At first, it felt impossible," Elena admitted. "Some days, all I could think of was, I'm alive. That was it. That was the only thing I had." She looked out the window at the rain, but slowly the list grew. The rain, the sound of birds outside my window, the way the light came through the curtains in the morning, a stranger holding the door open. The taste of coffee. She turned back to him, and little by little something shifted. The pain didn't go away. I still missed her. I still miss her now, but it stopped being the only thing I felt. David stared at his coffee, now cold. "But what if you can't find anything good? What if everything just hurts? What if the people you thought would be there aren't? What if you feel completely alone?" Elena's voice was gentle but steady, like a hand reaching through the dark. "Then you feel it. You don't hide from it. You don't pretend it's not there. You sit with it." She looked him in the eye. "Because pain demands to be felt, David. If you try to bury it, it just comes back louder. But if you let yourself feel it, really feel it, it eventually softens." David's eyes were wet now. "But you don't let it become all of you," Elena continued. "Because even in the darkest rooms, there's still a crack where light gets in. You just have to let yourself see it." She reached across the table not to touch him, just to close the distance. "You don't have to be okay right now. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to know how the story ends." Her voice was almost a whisper. "You just have to try. One small thing. One moment. One breath at a time." David sat there for a long time, not speaking. The rain kept falling. The cafe was warm. Somewhere in the background, soft music played. "Finally," he said. "I lost my mom 6 months ago." Elena nodded, waiting. "And everyone keeps saying, she's in a better place, or time heals all wounds, or stay strong." His voice cracked. "But I don't want to be strong. I just want her back." "I know," Elena said softly. "I know. And I feel like I'm failing," David continued, the words spilling out now. "Because I can't just move on. I can't just be normal again. And people are tired of hearing about it. So I stopped talking. I just disappeared." Elena's eyes were full of understanding. You're not failing, she said firmly. You're grieving. And grief isn't something you finish, it's something you learn to carry. She paused. And the people who are tired of hearing about it, they don't understand. Not because they're bad people, but because they haven't lost what you've lost. So they say the wrong things. They want to fix it because they don't know how to sit with pain. David looked at her. What do I do? You find people who will sit with you, Elena said. You find places where you don't have to pretend. You find tiny moments of light, even when it feels impossible. She smiled gently. And you let yourself be human, messy, imperfect, still trying. That night, David went home to his quiet apartment. He sat on the couch in the dark for a while, the same couch where his mum used to sit when she visited, the same one where they'd watch movies together. He thought about Elena's words. He thought about the crack where light gets in, and for the first time in months, he didn't think about everything he'd lost. He thought about one small thing he still had, the sound of rain against the window, the warmth of the coffee cup in his hands earlier, the fact that someone, a stranger, had sat with him and really seen him. It wasn't much, but it was something. Weeks passed. David started coming back to the cafe. Not every day, but enough. And slowly, he started to notice the way Elena remembered people's names, the way she never rushed anyone out, even when the cafe was full, the way she'd leave little notes on receipts. You're doing better than you think, or it's okay to rest, or simply, you matter. One day, a woman came in crying. Elena sat with her, didn't ask questions, just listened. David watched from across the room and realized this is what healing looks like. Not fixing, just being present. Another day, he saw Elena watering the plant in the corner. She did it slowly, carefully, like it was the most important thing in the world. When she walked past his table, he asked, "Do you ever have bad days?" She laughed softly. "All the time." "Then how do you still show up like this?" Elena thought for a moment, wiping her hands on her apron. "Because I know what it's like to feel invisible, to feel like no one sees you, to feel like your pain doesn't matter." She looked at him with those calm, steady eyes. "So I choose to see people, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." She smiled. "Because that's what Maria would have done." Months later, David got a new job, a fresh start in a new city. On his last day at the cafe, he waited until closing time. Elena was wiping down tables when he approached her. "I wanted to say thank you," he said. She looked up, surprised. "For what?" "For sitting with me that day, for not looking away, for showing me that it's possible to keep going, even when everything feels impossible." Elena's eyes softened. David handed her an envelope. Inside was a note. It said, "Thank you for keeping the light on. I'm learning to keep mine burning too. And I'm going to try one small thing at a time to be the kind of person who sits with people the way you sat with me. You'll never know how much that day saved me. With gratitude, David." Elena read it twice. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her apron pocket, right next to her heart. "Go gently," she said to him. "And remember, you don't have to carry it all at once." David nodded, his eyes wet but clear, and he left. And so, if you're reading this and you feel like the world has gone dark, if you're tired of pretending you're okay, if you don't know how to keep going, if the weight of it all feels unbearable, you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to be strong for anyone else. You just need to find one small thing worth holding on to. One breath, one sunrise, one cup of coffee, one moment of quiet, one person who sees you, one reason to try again tomorrow. The light doesn't have to be big, it just has to be yours. And even when everything feels heavy, you get to choose what you carry. You get to choose how you hold it. You get to choose to sit down when you're tired. You get to choose to ask for help. You get to choose to keep the light burning, not because you have to, but because you can. You're not alone in the dark, and you're stronger than you know. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you can't see it yet, the light is still there. It's always been there, and it's yours to keep.